Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lucidus podcast, where I explore everything because I believe everything is interconnected with everything else. I think interconnected is actually a polite way of saying it. I think it's more enmeshed, but regardless, I also believe in the infinite, unbounded potential within each of us. And it's that I explore and seek and feel like I feel far too short, far too many times. But here we go. Today, I want to share a story I wrote. It's not a story. It's it's my life, a story about my life and experience I had with my dear friend, Kristine. And I wrote it many years ago. Gosh, 5, 6 years ago. This is when this happened. And I've had a lot of titles for this story. I think I finally found the title as I revised it, went through and when I initially wrote this story a few years ago. I've always been writing, I had a very formal style. I was trying very hard to write a certain way, and it was actually quite beautiful. But I've realized that, not that that's wrong, and I would like to play in that formal style one day. But this story isn't a formal story. It's just my story. And so I went through and I rewrote the story just the way I would speak it. That's what I tried anyway. So what I'm going to read now is Appreciate. I'm trying to remember the title because I'm going to read it, but I haven't actually written the title. It just came to me last night. The title of the story is Appreciate Everything. And it's in honor of my dear friend, Kristine. So, have you ever felt something there, just beyond the tips of your fingers, like a wisp of the future calling to you? It's so there that you reach into the darkness and grasp at the shadows, only to find they are already flowing up your arm, tugging at your heart. Have you ever felt like this, that there is something just there? You can feel it, but you can't name it or see it. That's how I feel. Something is there in her voice, a something I don't recognize. I press the phone against my ear to see if it's the connection, but no, it's still there in her voice. It's scratchy and raspy and taut, not at all the vibrant woman I recall. Shelley, you quit answering me, the raspy voice says. Sorry, Kristine, I reply. I got sick. It was so bad, I couldn't respond. I can't believe it's been over a year since I've seen you. I ran into Nancy the other day, and she told me you have cancer. Shelley, I am stronger every day. All I want is to go home. My sister is nice, but I'm too independent. I listen to muffled sounds, something as though she's shifting in her seat, and then there's a reluctant moan. Shelley, hold on. I need to change position, and it takes both hands. Can you wait? I have all the time you need, I say, and I actually do. I close my eyes and hear the January blizzard in my ears, but what I see in my mind's eye are Kristine's colorful outfits. They were second only to her hilarious quips during our exercise classes. Every week we would laugh and sweat, thoroughly enjoying our strong, healthy bodies. And every week we would say, let's go do something. We never did. Shelley. I adore how she uses my name as its own sentence. What is that noise? My forehead furrows as I search her gravelly voice for the feisty woman who cajoled me from my shell, then damn near forced me with her kindness into friendship. It snowplows, Chris. I'm sitting in my car. It's a long story. I sigh, but she is silent, so I continue. The short of it is, I got a terrible infection in my kidneys, pyelonephritis, and over the past 13 months it's turned into everything. Now I'm even allergic to my house. I've been staying at a friend's, but my symptoms are just as bad at their house, so I left. I'm just sitting here in my car, watching the storm. I feel terrible as I realize I've been vomiting my story onto her, but I needn't have worried. She understands illness and jumps in with an amazing surprise. Shelley, I wish you would have told me how sick you've been and that you need a place to stay. My home is empty until I'm stronger. You go there right now. Shelley, get a key from my neighbor and spend a night. See if it makes you sick. I now walk timidly through her home, barely daring to breathe, for fear my symptoms will suddenly return. I circle around and around, retracing the rooms, the photos, the mementos, the stray notes and lost pencils beneath them. I feel shy, intrusive, not wanting to disturb the presence I feel in her home. Just there. The just there is now here. Something is here in these rooms, just like in her voice. She is here, yes, but so too is her illness. I feel it, just like I feel my own illness, only different. This is hers, not mine. I inspect all the dust resting on the musical instruments. Each mote feels fragile, as though a single moth wing could disturb the peace. And yet the dust looms loudly, as loud as the chords in the Mormon hymn book lying open on the piano. I look around again, but cannot discern if the something I feel is auspicious or ominous, a guardian angel or a protectorate of other gates. I exhale the fear of my own illness and move toward a wall of mirrors. I flip the single light switch and am startled by the sudden reflections of light. I wasn't prepared for the sheer audacity of the serpentine light display, even though I had stopped many times to admire the enormous ruby red orb made of glass hanging near the wall of mirrors. And if the ruby orb wasn't enough, it sprouted long glass coils like a Medusa head. The whole effect is so stunning and masterful, an arrangement of glass which causes light to splinter and then dangle all about the room. It's magical. I am both stunned and tickled. The surprise of this display causes me to reach up and trace the curve of a light and a shadow. Everything feels suspended in motion. It's like delineating light from dark. Perhaps that is what I feel, just there, the delineation of light from dark, of illness from health. It's a fine line. Perhaps there's an enmeshment of our illnesses. I know I'm certainly not prepared to face mine, and I'm not sure how she's been facing hers. I've been healthy my whole life, and now suddenly I have kidney pains that crippled me for hours, days, weeks. I was oblivious to illness until I lay in bed, unable to move. It was only my son's insistence that got me to go. Mom, you never get sick. You really need to go see someone. Go right now. This isn't like you. An hour later, as I sat alone in the lobby of an urgent care facility, struggling to breathe through the pain, I realized it was my father's birthday, approximately 2 years after his death. It felt like a bizarre birthday present in reverse, as though he had given me this CT scan identifying my kidneys as swollen, bean-shaped infections. This infection now sloughing off into my bloodstream. The doctors told me it was pyelonephritis, yet this diagnosis did not explain the next 13 months of extreme infirmity, in and out of emergency rooms, testing for every possible disease. Unwittingly, I became a medical refugee, one of the millions of seriously ill, undiagnosed mysteries. I was told I was going through menopause. I was told I was a hypochondriac. I was lazy, and that I was mentally unwell and making all this up for attention. The lack of faith by the medical community was a blow, but the lack of faith by friends was far deeper. Perhaps this is why Kristine and I do not run away from each other when we reconnect. Both of us are in the throes of illness, and we understand that within those throes, it is more important than ever to have faith, remain connected, and not look away. I still stand below the orb with my fingers tracing light. But now I reach over to the wall and move the small bar on the light switch up and down, watching the orb brighten and dim. I marvel at this interplay of light and shadow for many minutes, and I begin to breathe. I begin to gain confidence because I'm not feeling sick. I walk into her bedroom, the one room I haven't visited. It feels so intimate, like undressing in front of someone for the first time. So I move slowly, and then I perch ever so gently on the edge of her bed, and I make a phone call to Kristine for the second time that day, our second phone call in 13 months. As I listen to the rings, I notice mementos from her treasured canine companion. The usual are present: silver dog tags, a photo, but so too is a beautiful handwritten card that writes about the depths of loss after losing an animal companion. Shelley, does it make you sick? Kristine's voice scratches my ear. No, your home is so lovely, and you have such style and artistry. I feel more home here than any place I've been since I got sick. How can I thank you? Shelley, we're going to get better together. This is the beginning of our raw phone conversations. Each of us is relieved to have found someone who understands both the depths of illness and the nearness of death. Our intimate talks begin to entwine our lives very tightly, even though we are some 30 miles apart. And between the storms of our illnesses, we fight for normalcy. Shelley, I just bought a pair of clogs. I want you to buy them too. Check out the link I sent. Despite Kristine's enthusiasm about new clogs, her voice worries me. More gauze than gossamer, more frayed than silken. I click the link she sends me and gasp with delight at the colorful patchwork clogs. They have a thick wooden base and a large leather flower on top, covered with mosaic leather. They are everything Kristine and I dream of for ourselves: alive and playful, bright and cheerful. They're fabulous, I say. Shelley, I knew you would love them. We can wear them together. Now, Shelley, how are you? Chris, I'm having such a hard time. I try to be brave, but when I feel really sick and no one can tell me what's wrong or how to get better, I just cry and cry. I don't know how you do it, Kristine. I wish I didn't feel this way, and I don't mean to complain. Shelley, you know I have bad days, very bad days, but I am fighting this. I want to get stronger so I can go home. I glance around at Kristine's beautiful home, this sacred resting place, a place she longs to return to. I look down at the image of the clogs, and in spite of their joyful nature, I'm too stressed about money to buy them. So as Kristine says goodbye, I silently close the link. The next morning, when I awake in her bed, surrounded by her effects, I feel her, just there, right out of sight, in the depths of the shadows. Those shadows push me out of bed and into my car. I need to go see her. I don't know why, I just do. This is no small feat. Everything I do exhausts me to my bones, but I make the 30-minute drive, and to say the drive is reminiscent of previous drives in my lifetime is an understatement. The drive to Kristine's sister's home is nearly identical to the drive of my father's home. When he was dying of Alzheimer's, I learned to care for and forgive him by making this same drive. It feels like some odd stroke of fate that Kristine's sister lives just a few blocks from my father's old home. When the front door is answered, Kristine stands before me, statuesque, beautiful, yet translucent. The spring sunshine seems to go right through her. Her hairless head is adorned with a floral scarf, and her gaunt body is accentuated by a plush robe. She is artfully dressed, but her style cannot disguise the pain beneath. Each movement requires careful deliberation, yet somehow she manages to give me a lovely hug before gliding through the living room and sitting in a soft chair. Shelley, I am getting stronger so that I can go home. I miss my home. I just need to be in my own home. Her desperation mingles with hoarseness, causing a tone of painful regret. A weighty guilt settles on my heart. How can I live in the home she is longing to inhabit? Kristine, I hope you go home soon. I don't know how to thank you for letting me. Shelley, I want you to live there. I'm happy that you're there. And one day, I will live there. Now, Shelley, when were you most afraid? Her question catches me from behind like a jolt of thunder, and tears suddenly burst from a well of grief I did not know. Kristine, I'm still afraid. I lower my face into my hands and cry. And although she is never one to cry, She waits, quietly. I don't know, I continue, still crying. I guess it was when I gave up. I surrendered. There was no fight left in me. It was like I was lost, stuck nowhere, helpless and terrified. I felt so alone. Then I remembered my dad and what he taught me when he died, that I can choose how I die. So I chose how to die. I chose to die with joy in my heart. I totally surrendered. I gave up. And when I did, I felt joy. Oddly, it was there. I felt joy, but it took a lot of fear for me to get there, to finally let go. Neither of us move, neither of us speak, neither of us sidestep this moment. There is hope, there is fear, there is discomfort, there is not knowing. This is our daily life. I wipe up my tears while Kristine courteously offers me a tissue from the small stand beside her. Kristine, when I decided to surrender, I didn't understand what I was doing. It took weeks of lying in bed for me to see that I had used all my aliveness to please other people, to prove my worth, to seek love, and even to make money. Her eyes flash with her familiar, fierce elegance. Shelley, I wish I had lived differently. I wish I had expressed myself and not cared what other people thought. Her eyes are dark and stormy. She's angry, the wholehearted anger of self-inflicted smallness. I know this pain. I know these storms of regret. Kristine does not walk me to the front door. She remains seated, as comfortable as she can possibly be. It's not long after my visit that she calls to deliver the news she's been dreaming of, the news I dread, yet also delight in. Shelley, I am coming home, Kristine says, her voice saturated with joy. I am so proud of you, I say, and I am. I'll leave lots of the herbs and foods that have helped me. I hope you like them. Kristine frets over me. Shelley, where are you going? I'm worried about you. I need to come home, but you need a home too. I conceal my fear, my frailty, my fatigue, which allows me to be up only 2 or 3 hours before I need to sleep at least an equal amount, plus my inability to eat due to severe pain, the headaches, the nausea, along with my erratic heartbeat, and the intense kidney pain which accompanies me everywhere. Plus, I've yet to determine if my thoughts will always be hazy or if I'll ever think one clear thought again. I also shield her from my current housing options, which are none. All of them vanished as though a mass extinction of homes is underway. Moreover, my inability to work leaves me no financial means to rent. I'm okay, Chris. I've decided to drive south for a few days and camp along the way. It'll be an adventure, and who knows where it will lead. My enthusiasm is false, and I think she knows. But she also knows there's nothing more she can do. She needs to take care of herself, as do I. So our cocoon of understanding begins to extend as I drive away. I sleep in my car at campsites, and I seek the landscape for tiny morsels of guidance. I traverse slowly, first across Utah and then into Colorado. It's something of a miracle when I meet a stranger who is kind, quick to understand my situation, and generous to offer me a room in their home. I situate myself into my new home and call Kristine. We prop ourselves against each other, sitting for hours on the phone, saying nothing, saying everything. They are the same for us. We remain candid, yet tender, and speak of our illnesses in matter-of-fact tones, the way people discuss vacation plans. Kristine talks about grueling hours of chemotherapy and the terrible aftermath. I talk about pain, fear, and loneliness. Then we discuss the intricacies of healing a human body and the deepest scars on our hearts. We encourage each other to eat as much as we can, and we pray to gain weight. I celebrate Kristine's victories as though they are my own, like when she rises from the bathroom floor to sit on her porch and enjoy a hot summer evening. The weeks pass, and I feel my hopes of healing solidify as I begin to attend yoga while needing only 12 hours of sleep a day. Yet whenever I ask Chris about her health, she doesn't offer a clear answer. I allow her this measure of privacy until she mimics my behavior and no longer responds to my calls and texts. At this point, I don't care about her privacy. I just need to know where she is, but I have no other means to contact her. I anxiously walk the river trail that leads to the old tellurium mines and wonder about all the possibilities for Kristine's silence. My steps end before the possibilities run dry in my mind, and so I stop and gaze at the catchment pools of water which continue to filter toxicity from the unused mines. Dark shades of malachite swirl with yellows and golds. The colors are surreal, like gems of water. They're gorgeous and stunning and distinctly poisonous. My gaze becomes restless, and it flits from pool to pool, then higher up the mountain to the waterfalls, and higher up to the tiny hydroelectric house on the cliff's edge, and even higher to the towering peak that's named for a Trojan warrior whose envy of others was so great he ended his own life, Ajax. I look down at the vivid pools. What a strange culture. Toxic pools, warrior peaks named after an envy, and soul connections so powerful that Kristine remains coupled tightly to me even when silent. I pull out my phone and scroll up and down, looking at the unanswered text messages I've sent to Kristine. They are hopeful and supportive, not a trace of the worry I actually feel. Kristine, I ask the pools of malachite and gold, where are you? It's only been 5 days without a response, but it feels like a lifetime. And oddly, it's also time for me to leave this temporary home. So I begin my drive back to Utah. My body is stronger and I make the drive more swiftly, but my heart feels as dry as the sweltering sagebrush. My return to Utah allows for a needed blood test, just to make sure things are improving. So I head directly to the hospital when I arrive. My appointment should be brief, but I am met with so many delays that a 2-minute blood draw takes nearly an hour. Eventually, a white cotton ball and bright pink tape are proof of my bravery. As I leave, the late afternoon sun pulses heat off of every artificial surface in the parking lot. I walk to my car and click the doors open, and just as I reach for the handle, I hear a familiar voice. "Shelley, are you here to see Chris?" I stare in amazement. A woman I barely know stands on the sidewalk, looking emotionally drained. It's Nancy from exercise class. I don't know her well, but I know she's been helping Chris with nearly everything for months. "Nancy, is Kristine here? She hasn't responded to me in days." I fly back into the hospital and find Kristine lying in a bed with a painfully distended abdomen. Our eyes meet. We hold hands. We say nothing. We say everything. We are silent for a long while before Kristine speaks. Her voice is not scratchy. It's soft, smooth, tender. So very, very tender. "Shelley, I'm glad you're here. I might try surgery again, and I need you to witness my nephew's power of attorney. My doctor said I should take care of that before I do anything." I nod and say yes to her every request. It's then that I meet her family. They tell me I look like her. I do, but with less grace. Kristine chooses to undergo another surgery, and I follow along as things go up and down, here and there, touch and go, and finally plummet. Days turn into weeks, until a month after my fateful return, I hold her diaphanous hands. Her eyes are closed as she speaks, her voice so smooth, so tender. "Shelley." I stroke her newly dyed hair, a short mass of fuzzy pink. I realize she no longer cares. I want to weep and laugh for her courageous soul. "I'm here," I say. I sponge water into her mouth, just like I did for my father, and she asks the questions she has asked me for the past 9 months. "Shelley, how did you do it?" I postpone my answer by looking toward the window, seeking fresh air. I ask myself why hospital windows are permanently locked. I look at all the tubes dripping and sticking into her body. I look at every distraction to keep me away from the question, the one without an answer. I don't know. I didn't. I stop. My eyes fall upon her arm, no thicker than two slender bones. Then I continue. All I know is that I gave up. I chose to die with joy in my heart. I don't know why I'm alive. Her pale face becomes a palette of emotions. Confusion, frustration, anger, exhaustion. I'm desperate to pull her away from this awful place, one I know too well, one I have only recently departed. Kristine, what have you learned from all this? Without pause, she whispers, Shelley, appreciate everything. Everything. Enjoy gulping down a cool glass of water. Salty tears blur my vision as I sponge water onto her lips and water into her mouth. Shelley, I'm not done fighting for my life. I know, I softly affirm. I know. She squeezes my hand as I kiss her forehead goodbye. Then 2 days later, Kristine goes home, but not to her home. Despite Kristine's relentless pursuit of returning home and her request to do so at the end of her life, she is conveyed to the bedroom in her sister's home where we initially reconnected 9 months ago. The morning I hear she has been moved, I know I must go see her. I call my daughter. I know we have plans, Chica, but I feel like we should go visit Chris right now. My daughter's support is cheerful and priceless. Mom, if you think you should go, you should. I'll go with you. Thanks, Chica. We won't be long. Just a few minutes to check in. 30 minutes later, my daughter and I stand in a small bedroom. There are only the three of us. My daughter, myself, and Kristine. I cringe at the deathly pallor of Kristine's face, then feel ashamed at my response. Again, I feel the wisps at the ends of my fingertips, reaching into shadows, reaching toward the ebony secrets of my own heart. Is this my rendezvous with what I felt so long ago, when I heard Kristine's voice, when I walked through her house for the first time? I stare at the hospital bed, which looks identical to my father's, or maybe all hospital beds look the same. My daughter stands less than an inch behind me, as close to death as she has ever been. I grasp her hand, and we move to the opposite side of the bed, squeezing past the dresser and cheerful balloons, remnants from Kristine's recent birthday celebration. I pull a small chair close to the bed and place my hands on Kristine's arm. I listen to the energies of Kristine's body and allow my hands to follow a wisdom of their own. They choose to settle upon Kristine in a harmonizing way. One curls over the top of her head, resting against her pink hair, the other around her wrist. I watch Kristine's face for any communication, but she has traveled too far away. Her only actions are labored breathing and occasional moans, which sound like the guttural groans of denial. My daughter gently strokes my hair, just as my sister did when I held my father. In fact, so much of this feels like my father's passing. I suddenly wonder if my daughter wants to be here for this. Chica, do you want to go? I can get a ride. I might be longer than I thought. I'm fine, Mom. I hear in her reply that she understands the fullness of this moment, all of its possibility. Time passes without notice as I focus entirely on Kristine. When her breathing makes a sudden downturn, a few family members come into the room and discuss medication. Spontaneously, one of them reads a list of speakers for Kristine's funeral. Shelley, she says. Me, I ask. Kristine never said anything to me about this. I hate speaking in public. Kristine knows this, so why would she ask and not mention any of this to me? I stare anxiously into Kristine's gray face and feel her pulling me out of my comfort, out of my shell, just like she did in exercise class. How is she able to do this when she can't even speak? Kristine's etiolated body shudders as I recall her kindness, her joy, her selfless friendship. I lower my head and silently cry as my daughter's hands rest on both me and Kristine, with an assurance in life which belies her 21 years. I am startled from my quiet moment when the few remaining family and friends quickly exit the room. I wonder if they sense the shift toward death. And again I offer an opening to my daughter. You can go, I say. Then I slide from the chair and kneel before the bed, bowing before Kristine's process of dying, just as I did with my father's. My daughter bends down and whispers into my ear, Mom, I want to be here to support you. Kristine fights. She groans. She agonizes. She refuses to give up, to relent, to release. This continues for some immeasurable time, until it doesn't. Yet even after her body has breathed its last, she remains. I feel her. There. I suddenly realize that my rendezvous with there is neither auspicious nor ominous. There is here, always here, a Kristine of life and death, light and dark, love and loss. There is always here, in the mystery, the wonder, the gratitude, the untold force which moves all things, including the fierce elegance I'll never again see in Kristine's eyes. When my daughter and I finally exit the home, I pause and squint at the too bright sunshine, closing my eyes to see the serpentine bloodlines behind my eyelids, just like the glass Medusa coils of Kristine's ruby light, and the spider lines on the back of my father's hand when he died. It was not so long ago and just over yonder that I knelt at my father's bedside, and he passed. Mom, should we put flowers from the yard on Kristine? I open my eyes and smile in answer to my daughter's perfect question. Over the next few days, I cry and I hike. I hike until exhaustion forces me to sleep. I don't know how to go on without my sole confidant. I feel lost without Kristine. I'm wandering a hinterland of grief, and I question whether I should speak our funeral. What would I possibly say? I still don't know the answer when I attend her viewing the night before her funeral service. The family looks to me for an answer, but I stare numbly at her mementos, the same ones I lived with. And I see for the first time her clogs, the ones she asked me to buy so we could wear them together. I stroke them as I did her pink hair, loving the memory of them. A few minutes later, the clogs are quietly gifted to me by Kristine's sister. I immediately slip my feet into their bohemian charm and feel a tingle like my very own Wizard of Oz shoes. I walk over to Kristine's casket. Kristine, I murmur, you're right. The clogs are fabulous. I love them, and I hope I walk in them as gracefully as you did. The following day, with a good deal of prodding from myself to myself, I am able to shepherd myself to her funeral service. I visibly shake and cry as I stand and talk. I feel my feet pressing upon her clogs. And I finish by sharing her words. Appreciate everything. Everything. Enjoy gulping down a cool glass of water.